Welcome back. The Trump administration is blocking shipments of semiconductors to Chinese tech giant Huawei. This as the Chinese Communist Party threatens to sanction several U.S. lawmakers, including Senator Tom Cotton, who has appeared on this program to call out China's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, among other bad behavior. Georgia Congressman Doug Collins just introduced his own legislation on China. He joins me now. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Let's get right to it. Your bill basically sanctions and freezes assets of the Chinese leadership. Tell us about it.
Exactly. It's time China decides if they want to be a world economic power, they also have to be a responsible world economic power. They can't treat the world like they treat their citizens, which is to keep them under oppression and make them believe every bit of communist doctrine that they want to believe. And what we're going to do is say, if you want to actually be a part of the world, you need to be out there and give a full accounting, an international accounting of what you did and what you did not do. It has become very apparent that they were much more willing to control it internally, but yet spread it across the world. China has a problem, and the problem is they can't be honest with themselves and they can't be honest with the international community. So we're going to put it in effect to give the president a way to sanction. We're going to not tie his hands, but give him every tool in the toolbox to get them to compete in a way that is fair in the international market. And if they don't, then fine, they'll suffer the consequences for it.
Do you worry that there will be consequences to that they're going to push back? I mean, you already have Chinese state media ominously threatening congressmen. You weren't on the list, but Josh Hawley was on the list. Tom Cotton was on the list. They are watching each of your districts to try to get back at you for coming up with legislation against China and the Communist Party.
Well, I hope the Communist Party is watching. My name is Doug Collins. They can come after me whenever they want to, but I'm going to stand with America, and I'm tired of watching intellectual property. I'm tired of them trying to steal pharmaceutical secrets. I'm tired of them letting their own country be locked down while they send people out of the country, and then they lie to it about to the world. The Communist Party must realize that they may be able to try and keep their own people down, but that regime is bound and destined to fail. We need to make sure that if you're going to have an economic partner in the world, they have to be able to compete like everybody else does and tell the truth. It seems like they can't do that even to their own people, so why would we expect it from the rest of the world?
All right, let me switch gears, Congressman, and ask you about the unmasking. You heard the president's response to what has taken place, where we see a number of high-level Obama administration officials moving to tell the world, expose what was supposed to be a private call between an incoming NSA director and the ambassador to Russia.
Well, it's amazing what we've seen, Maria. We've been talking about this for so long, and now it just feels like what we've been talking about in the corrupt cabal with Strzok and McCabe and Comey and all of them, and now Yates and the rest. But it now found something different. We now find it in the Oval Office. Not the Oval Office of President Trump, but the Oval Office of President Obama, who was asking about Flynn, who had his own chief of staff unmask him the day that there was a meeting. And oh, by the way, Joe Biden, were you asleep in this meeting as well when you actually were there and you told just this past week that you knew nothing about unmasking and you actually made a request for unmasking? This is the problem that we're seeing right now, is that people are now waking up to the real fact that there was an attempt to take out a candidate and then a president before he could get going. And the American people ought to be appalled. They ought to be demanding that why every news outlet is not covering this the way you have for the last few years, and many of us have been screaming at the top of our lungs that there was basically a coup attempt at the highest levels, and now we have it faced right into the Oval Office.
And you still don't see it on any of the news media. They actually use the media to leak things, classified documents, in fact. Trey Gowdy says that leaking classified documents is a 10-year felony. I know we're waiting on John Durham, but do you see crimes being committed in plain sight here?
How could it not be? I agree with Trey here. This is just, I mean, it's ridiculous. How did that information had to get out from one of these that had unmasked or someone that they gave it to? It's amazing to look at how the mainstream media treats this president. They treat him as if he was different. They will believe anything if he was accused of collusion or accused of doing anything else with the Russians. But yet when it comes to the ones that they think are the greatest in the world, the superheroes that they thought were really nothing but a corrupt bunch of thugs going around, it looks like now, because they tried to use it. They believe everything they say. But this goes back, way past this, from the Clinton email scandal into the discussion of Russia. And so what I want to see happen here is let's hold people accountable. Somehow this information got out. We now know who unmasked. Let's start having the investigation. And Durham, I think, is doing that, but there needs to be accountability, because otherwise, how can it not happen to you and me?
And throughout this whole hysteria, let's not forget they missed the real bad actor, and that's China. while yourself and some of your colleagues were investigating China's moves like Devin Nunes over the last several years. We've reported that. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you, sir. We'll be watching your developments in terms of that legislation. Doug Collins.